Mental health in the workplace and mental health because of COVID has been like a new, a lot of new things are coming on. Why are we seeing new mental health workplace-esque kind of things happening as we return to the office?
I really think one of the biggest things that's contributing to what some people are experiencing within their workplace is the uncertainty. So many people don't know, when are they going to be able to return to their office? If they return to their office, what are the policies? If they're in the office, like there's a lot of uncertainty, and that can trigger anxiety, because anxiety wants certainty and control. And really, people end up in their survival brain. So we have our thinking brain where we're being logical, we're planning, like this is where we're open to new things. And then survival brain is, I'm just trying to survive. And really, I'm just going to get through this the best I can. And I do think that there are things that people can do to help along the way. So I know a lot of people that I work with that were working from home. We talked about setting up a specific workspace. So to not just sit on their bed, or like to have a specific workspace, to have some separation between work and home. Some people can't do that due to finances, due to whatever, their kids are needing the desk or table, or so people were having to do it all without a ton of extra support, which really opens the door for compassion fatigue or even burnout.
Yeah, so can you talk about what burnout does to like your mental state?
So burnout is worse than so burnout is when people are just done with the job, done with everything, and there can be some apathy where they're not really enjoying what they're doing, they're not really liking the workspace. And we know that things that can increase burnout is people not having control over things like their schedule, or like, just so if somebody else is dictating everything, and if a person feels that they don't have any say at all, that can definitely increase some burnout. And then also low pay with a lot of expectations. I know that's why a lot of places had to raise their pay for cashiers. I hope that teachers get a bit of a raise, because I hope that through this we really value teachers even more. But unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to happen. So I think burnout can definitely trigger feelings of depression, anxiety. It can trigger a lot. And I saw a lot of people coming to seeking therapy that were struggling because of issues at work. Now, sometimes that burnout feeling can motivate people to look for something else, because maybe this job isn't the right fit. So some people did look for something else, and but some people are stuck and they're not able to do anything. And so that's where practicing gratitude can be really helpful. Focusing on, let's finding something that the person likes, because there are people, they're like, I hate everything about that job, they can all go somewhere, I don't even want to be here. Like you can have very, very negative emotions about the job, but finding, I like the fact they pay me. Like, if that's, I like the fact that, I'll have that one coworker that we can talk to, or and so finding something that the person can appreciate, that can definitely be helpful.
Awesome. So I've been during this project, I've been talking to a lot of like workers and what their jobs are offering mental health wise, and I'm hearing a lot of the commonality of being there's no programs that their work is offering. They might offer it at the beginning. How important is it that like workers get offered like mental health resources from their employers?
It is extremely important, and most places offer EAP, and they may offer it to, and it's a employee assistance program. So most places do have an EAP program. If it's a smaller company, they may not, because they have to pay for those resources, where they typically get anywhere from 3 to 5 free sessions. But there are some people that even with their private insurance, it's still a lot to have to pay for services. I worked for a counseling agency before starting my own position, and during COVID, the job offered things like yoga, or like they would offer certain classes. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was paid. And if it was paid, it was paid at like a training rate. It wasn't paid at the person's same hourly rate, but they
Mhm.
did try to offer something, and they tried to have support, because sometimes peer support can be an even better support than coming to see a therapist, because I don't know what their workplace is like. I don't know exactly what's going on.
Another big thing that like came across in some of my interviews was like safety concerns and that triggering like anxiety and then like panic attacks. Why are we seeing like an influx in that because of COVID, or is it just because like we're
Well,
switching our situations?
and a piece of that is understandable and legit. So I am a psychologist, and I almost had a panic attack one day when I went into Wawa and I saw 6 people without a mask. It was like February. Like I was just because they have a mask sign. Everybody was supposed to have on a mask, and lots of people, because Wawa at that time, that's a local gas station, they were doing free coffee Tuesdays, and it was a Tuesday, coffee was free, and a lot of people did not have on masks. And once again, that survival brain gets triggered, and it's almost like I just saw a bear, but it didn't. It was a person's face, but like in person. And and so I think that can definitely cause some issues. Um, I I know of agencies and places where they weren't requiring customers to wear a mask, or there really wasn't, which can place the employees at an increased risk. And I know places where multiple coworkers did end up getting COVID. And so it's not like it's this irrational fear. Like I'm working and I have this fear that, so this was a real concern. And then but people have to accept what's in their control, what's not in their control, take um the precautions that they can. But I know that was very frustrating. Or knowing that when they approach somebody about wearing their mask or something, that could trigger like an aggressive response. So there's been an increase in people being verbally and even physically aggressive towards flight attendants, towards customer service people. And so the workplaces have gotten a lot more toxic, just because people, it's almost like they don't know how to interact anymore. It's like people
Mhm.
stepped away for a year and now they don't know how to be civil.
You mentioned this earlier. Having that separation from work and like your home life can cause a lot of because of COVID, we're now like meshing them together a lot, and it's hard for people to separate. What does that do to a person? You
And that's
know?
where I do clarify for some people. So I work with a
Mhm.
few people that they are thriving working from home. They're actually, because they might have ADHD or they have something going on, where them being able to have complete control over their space versus being in a larger setting with like coworkers everywhere, they would get easily distracted in those settings. And then there are lots of other people that aren't doing as well with that. And so I definitely think people figuring out what works. I know sometimes I have to turn off Netflix, or because it can be really easy to just not do whatever the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And then I know people that had to ask for family time because it was impossible to try to home, to school 2 or 3 children and try to work and do all of these extra things. I'm a big Brene Brown fan, where she talks about vulnerability. And so something that I really stressed was people asking for help and support. So I am married, and I would ask my husband, like, hey, can you help out with dinner? And I will, just so I can get a minute to myself. And then we can, so for people to ask for what they need, because sometimes people expect their partner or their roommate or whoever to see the problem and do it. People
Mhm.
actually aren't good at that. Because then sometimes it's a judgment of, oh, they're, I don't know, like people start judging the other person for not helping out with something that they didn't ask for. And so I think asking for it, and you do open the door, the person might not be able to do it. And that's where but if you don't ask, the answer, you definitely won't get extra support.
Very true. Very true. That answers like most of my questions. Is there anything you really want to add about like mental health during the past, like, you know, quarantine and everything, how it's changed the whole industry?
The one thing that I will say is things don't have to be good or bad. So for me, COVID has been in dialectical behavior therapy developed by Dr. Marsha Linehan. She talks about things being a dialectic, both and. So the last year and a half was both one of the best years and also one of the worst years. There were lots of good things that happened. And so that's where I think looking for that good, because when people are in survival mode, it's difficult to see anything but what's wrong and what's not going right and all the things you don't have, all the things you can't do. And if you focus on those things, you will feel more depressed, more anxious. Like that will just trigger those things. And you often have to look for what is going right, what is okay. So I've actually enjoyed not having to get together with people. like I'm just being like I have so much extra time. Like I do Zoom meetings. Most of my services are still online. I do meet with some people face to face, but there are some benefits that I have from being able to work online. I do go to the office because I'm one of those people. I can't work from here. I have a 3-year-old that is upstairs and he is supposed to be taking a nap. He is not. And so when I am home, he only sees me as mom. He doesn't know that I have 2 businesses and that I'm writing a book. Like he doesn't care about any of those things. He's like, mommy, play. That's all that he cares about. So me being able to go to the office is very helpful. Trying to not compare your situation to somebody else's. And social media is big for that, where it's like, oh, I see my friends going to these places and doing these things. And sometimes social media can make people not like their life. And so I love my life. I love the fact, because somebody asked me earlier, what did you do for the 4th? And I was like, we didn't. Our 3-year-old isn't vaccinated, so we were home. Like we didn't do anything. We knew any space would be really crowded, and each person takes their own measure of risk. And so for the people that do go out, for the people that do get to have a bunch of fun, but I don't have to negatively look at my life because somebody else is doing something positive. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Could you just tell me about your job and your position and everything about you?
Thank you. So I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I have been in private practice under my own license for going on 11 years, I believe. Yes, maybe 12. I don't know. But a really, really long time. And I have my own private practice, which I launched because of COVID. If it wasn't for COVID, I would probably still be working for another agency. Student loans being put on hold, let me shout and like actually get to live my life a little, because I have quite a bit. I've paid most of them down, but I still have a ways to go with student loans. And so I run my own private practice where I do outpatient therapy. I used to do psychological testing, and I'm not sure, but that has to be face to face, in my opinion. There are some ways to do it remote. I don't trust that. If in order for me to give somebody a diagnosis, I want to see them face to face, that type of diagnosis. And so that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Um,
So where do you go to school?
yeah, I go to Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm a grad student in their journalism program. It's all online. I work part-time at Sirius XM in DC, so I'm up in like Fredericksburg right now, but we're not in. We're kind of like a hybrid situation where we have a couple people in, but we do all of our stuff from like our computer setups, which is pretty cool. But
That is so cool.
yeah, so the program's been really nice. It's been like a year-long program all online. It started like the very beginning of quarantine, and it finishes in about 2 weeks once I submit this project.
Congratulations. Good luck with it. And is that your goal, to go into journalism?
More like a broadcasting, radio broadcasting, news kind of thing. So like just journalism as a whole.
Nice, nice. Can you hear the 3-year-old? He's singing.
A little bit, yeah.
He's quite happy. And so yes, did you have any other questions for me?
No, this was very insightful and great.